This is episode 100 of Beat Motel, and we're going to talk about not being rude about Stephen Fry. We're going to talk about oral tennis. We're going to talk about Spider-Man's wristges, Devin Townsend's coffee enema, Andy Bellaveraja writing songs for Oasis, and feeding the trolls. Let's do it. So he had to get his fingernails and toenails sort of switched round, I guess, because he kept scratching his ring. You're listening to the Beat Motel podcast, and we need to warn you that we like to use words like fuck, shit, and syndicalist, boxy scrutux, angry flap, and filth biscuits, and we don't often bleep those words out, apart from because we're not complete animals. But if you understand that and you like music, then listen on.
I have two things to say to that. One is, yes, my reading wing gets a bit itchy sometimes as well.
Yeah. Have you ever scratched it, though?
And also, very impressive to be able to scratch your ring with your foot.
I'm very flexible. I can get both my ankles behind my head, which usually results in the chiropractor asking me not to do that and to put some damn clothes on. Dr.
Okay,
Sam.
this is a good YouTube podcast now. Let's see this, Andrew.
Yeah, we've done the hook now. We've done the bit at the beginning to get people in. Right, I have welcome to Beat Motel. We have the lovely Dr. Sam here, and we're going to talk shit and stuff. And should we start with Riff of the Week?
Sure.
Or do you want to talk about poo?
No.
That was so good, it steamed my glasses up. Who was that?
That's a band called The Barbarians of California with the song Bazooka. And I discovered them the other day through the mystery and joy that is Tidal. They were recommended, and I just gave it a go. And I have to say, I don't think it's sort of, I'd say, older man, grumpy, hardcore, 90s hardcore sort of stuff. But they sound like they're having a great time. The lyrics are ridiculous and quite funny some of the time, sort of straying into Jello Biafra territory in it, sort of like when they were good, being challenging not just of the mainstream but also of the sort of the punk scene as well. There's a song called "Where Are the Punks?" and the chorus has something along the lines of, they're all sitting in their house in suburbia, and but punk in America was a suburban. I mean, post the Ramones, it was a suburban phenomenon in like California and stuff and all that. But like California, apart from a few places, doesn't really have a downtown, as in what we would consider the center of a city in Europe. Anyway, getting into that, it's a great.
Where do they put their Greggs? They haven't got a downtown. Where do they put Greggs?
Whole Foods. There's all.
I'm going to look that album up. That sounded.
It's 90s. It's like it's 90s. Hardcore, which I don't think has been like a particular strain of 90s hardcore that has like a bit. Well, always think of like beatdown stuff, and it's mostly beatdown moments. There's some great lead guitars that sort of reference quite a lot of the crossover thrash stuff from the late 80s. The vocalist, he's like straining. You can hear him sort of giving it everything, but his diction is also really good. So you understand a lot of the lyrics and you just go, what did he say? Because it's quite surrealist lyrics at the same time. Well, I find them quite surreal. And they're from a band called, I've never heard of, I've never listened to, a band that's apparently quite big in America called AWOL Nation.
Nope, never heard of them.
No, American phenomenon.
We're not here to give facts.
No, but so I this is probably my favorite album of the moment. Listen to it, and it's completely surprised out of nowhere. So the guys have done good.
The guys at Tidal, who kind of sit down every Wednesday afternoon and look at what you and I have been listening to and then pass notes around the table to make recommendations, are doing well. I commend them, and they've earned all those jelly beans they have in the middle of the table.
This is the second one. That's one of my favourite sounds of the year after Thumposaurus.
I keep meaning to go back to Thumposaurus. I saw there's a song called "I'm Pissed," I think it's called.
Yeah.
Which I kind of already know what it's going to sound like, but it's going to be great. I'm going to enjoy it. Oh, sorry, I've got a bit of sniffles. If we haven't heard of AWOL Nation, do you know who will correct us?
Who?
All the fuckers who keep commenting on all our videos. I've come in for so much shit recently. It's quite amazing.
Good.
Somebody accused us of being AI generated. Like, I mean, if you're like going to go to the effort to like AI generate content, why would you create content like this? Why would you create this? Why would you like go, hey, that's exactly
I knowingly full well we are being pumped into the AI system at some point nowadays. I would like to think that we're bringing down the level of information available.
So yeah, it's all a middling, isn't it? It's all like the middle of everything, and yeah, we're queering that curve. We're bringing it down a bit more.
Yeah.
I don't normally engage
trust
with
AI people. It's awful.
I don't usually sort of engage with trolls. Obviously, that don't feed the trolls and all that. Apart from with Beat Motel, we're like, fuck it, why not? So for that one, I just replied, "We ams robots." I couldn't think of anything else. But my God, the
illiterate Norfolk version of the Kraftwerk song.
we ams robots. Oh dear man. There's a sign. There's a place called the locals call it Stooky in Norfolk, but it's I'll give you the spelling and you can make up your own mind. It's spelled Stiffy. So how would you pronounce that?
Ftiffy.
Stiffy.
Stiffy.
No, Stooky. It's Stooky. But, on the way in,
this is very Welsh. I mean, sorry, this is very Irish spelling to me. No offense to Irish. I love the fact that I've never been able to read a proper Irish name off the paper and get it right. It's
just can't like. What the hell is that spelling? Siobhan? Why has it got a number 7 in the middle of it? We're not going to help things with this sort of bants. We're not doing bants, are we? But anyway, this place, Stiffy, round here, by which I mean the UK, because listeners and viewers, Sam's in Finland. People have started putting up their own road signs, and sometimes they try and make them look a bit like their real road signs, and some of them they don't look quite so good. But there's a 20-mile-an-hour limit as you come into Stiffy, and someone's put up a sign that says "Slow you down, boy." I think it's probably genius because everyone will see that and they'll be thinking about it, and it's quite clear. Well, it's clear to me what it means. Slow you down, boy. Wonderful, right?
Well, that just tells you. For me, that just tells you the sort of the grammar that we understand as the English language grammar is a modern invention rather than something that is one that is natural. Yeah.
Oh, yep, absolutely. There's a brilliant guy called Charlie Haylock who's I guess he's a linguist. He's well known round these parts because he specialises in Suffolk dialect, and he advised on that film The Dig, about Sutton Hoo, and I went to a talk of his. He's hilariously funny. I tried to get him on this podcast when we very first started, and he said yes, and then told me a long story about how during COVID he had a special deal going with the local. I don't know if I should say this. No, because of separation, he'd park his car, get out of his car, and wander off, and basically leave the keys to his boot on the boot of the car, and the local shop would come and undo the boot and put his shopping in and drive back. And I think that was quite sensible. But yeah,
but that also gives you faith that there is still some like commitment to honesty and niceness in England, which is so little of it is.
Well, so little of it's talked about, but it is nice. I was out in Chelmsford past midnight last night, and there were quite a lot of colourful characters. So there are a lot of people shouting. I don't get why people go out drinking and then do shouting.
No,
Well, they are using their outdoor voices outdoors, I suppose. but it's not like they're shouting anything interesting. They're not like shouting kind of philosophical questions at each other and having interesting
or there's
debates.
dynamite in the piano, to bring it back to Barbarians of California.
There's what, dynamite in the piano?
Yeah, that's the first lyric.
That is a great lyric. I'm all over the place today because I was out in Chelmsford past midnight. So Charlie Haylock, I saw him give a talk.
Can't do that as an old man these days.
Saw him give a talk, and this really sort of sniffy person in the audience when he was doing that question is, what did you think about the youth of today bastardizing speech with text speak? And he said, brilliant. He said, if language doesn't evolve, it dies. How many people still speak Latin? No one. It's because they set it in stone, said this is how it's going to be, and it didn't evolve, so it died. And I thought, well, what a brilliant... He was sort of very politely saying, you fucking idiot, to this person who was basically going, the youth of today.
Yeah, I mean, there have been some BBC4 have done some fascinating documentaries about. I think Stephen Fry, even though I find him quite grating these days. Sorry, Stephen, if you're listening.
Is there friend of the podcast? That's it, hanging out.
Stephen Fry, friend of the podcast. You've heard it here first.
He probably heard it here first.
You're more than welcome to come on. It's like Desert Island Discs, but it just keeps on going. And complete shit. But there was like really fascinating sort of things about, like that person doesn't understand how much the language has changed with that they use themselves, because even if we are mostly like revolving around white middle class stuff, through pop culture we've also adopted a lot of sort of language and words from both India and Pakistan and the West Indies, just by the fact that there is now significant populations of them here, and they do sort of speak languages, but they've also changed just the grammar. English apparently did not have a. This is one of the things I found really fascinating in that radio program, which was the idea that English, before sort of Jamaicans came here, we didn't do this thing of, or not just Jamaicans, but West Indies. We didn't sort of have verbal full stops like a lot of languages do. So when we end a sentence, oh yeah, like it's more like when we end a sentence with a thing like
I say yo diggity quite a lot. I keep it out. I keep it out of my my patter when we do the podcast. But down local greengrocers, pound of tomatoes, yo diggity, motherfucker. That's just the way I roll. I get quite a lot of things thrown at me.
Dad, stop it! By your daughter when she's out with you.
There's this thing called brain rot. The weird thing is how fast things spread at the moment. And this is a music podcast, I promise, but I'm not even going to go on about it. But just look up brain rot language, because it's a thing. And the kids think they're the first people to have their own language. And it's hilariously shit. And it's also hilariously 80s. But I'm going to play my riff of the week now. So you listeners and viewers, you can go off and look up brain rot, because it's skibbity riz and sigma. That riff. It's such a squirrely little riff. It's like it's dancing around the room or bouncing around inside your brain. I almost cut the vocals off because I thought it might give it away to you who it is. So you don't know. I love this game. You don't know who that is.
Oasis. Is it?
Do you know what? I had Ollie on last week, and he answered Oasis when I played one of my choices. And I'm like, fuck off! Is it Oasis?
Is it the new Cure song? Because that'd be awesome.
Oh, I like the new Cure song. I mean,
I haven't listened to it.
It's doing a good Cure. It's not like breaking any new ground, but it's decent. That's The Smile. Have you heard of The Smile?
Oh, that's Tom York.
So Johnny Greenwood from the Radioheads on guitar, Thom Yorke from the Radioheads on vocals and bass, and Tom Skinner on drums. I'm not sure what band Tom Skinner's from, but I'm sure he's well beloved by his friends and
I have
family.
to say, I was really enjoying that until the vocals came in. I just thought, I don't know, they were a bit underwhelming compared to, like, you had this really nice, sort of, I'd say, sort of post-punk math rock sort of stuff going on over sort of a semi-cliche hip-hop beat. And it was like, oh, this is going somewhere interesting. This is really cool. And then the vocals came in, and it's just like, just do something different.
Oi, York, do something different.
Less successful. Do something less successful.
Be more shit.
Yeah, be more shit by being interesting.
I don't really understand why I'm not in the band. Clearly,
Does he get up to full whine in that song, or does he keep it like a bit like quiet?
A lot of the stuff I've heard from The Smile is quite low key on the vocals. They very much one of those bands that I think they're a lot more instrumentation.
He doesn't open his mouth that wide. He just sort of keeps it low whine.
Yeah, like he's got maybe he's got tetanus. You can't open your mouth properly. You've got tetanus, can you? So Tom York, get well soon. I'm sorry to hear.
People open their mouth when they're playing tennis.
That's how I catch the serve. Person hits it, I just leap up.
Is that okay? That explains what happened to your tooth.
Yeah, I'm afraid it was a particularly aggressive game of gob tennis.
I'm going to be honest. This is going to be a moment of brutal honesty. You're the first person I've talked to properly who isn't my wife or my 4-year-old child. So I'm really enjoying talking to someone else.
Today or
this week?
This week? Oh man, yeah. I need to come back over. We need to go to Toastmasters because it's a good thing. Say something offensive about Stephen Fry again. I want to make sure we've got some clips.
Oh, Stephen Fry. He's just. I mean, he's one of these people who. I don't know. I don't want to be rude about him, but also I don't think he knows when he's being brilliant and when he's being just fucking annoying. And I'm pretty sure he'd admit that as well. And sometimes he's sort of fascinating and wonderful. Other times you just want him to shut the fuck up.
I assume that he's just doing the thing where if I was in a position where people would give me money to talk, I would absolutely do it all the time. And I suppose
he gets paid per word sometimes. I'm sure he does.
That would explain how he's so verbose sometimes. How are you, Stephen? Well, I first started forming an opinion on this around 1986, and so on and so forth. So that was the smile. Let's move on because we need to get onto our topic. 20 minutes in and no fucking topic. That's probably not a record.
Classic.
Feels good. Feels good. Right, what's our topic? Oh, I chose it this time, didn't I?
No, this is my one. What are we doing?
A great band, terrible decision.
No, that's next Tuesday.
No. Fuck. Oh, man, really? Oh, shit. What theme are we doing?
Singer-songwriters.
Oh.
Post 60s.
Well, I
can't talk about any. Can I talk about any of these bands as great band?
I was really confused by your choices. great band, terrible decision. I was looking at that going, I just didn't understand, and I was really looking forward to it. Mine made total sense for great band, terrible decision. Oh shit!
Let's continue. Well, you'll do your theme. I'll do my theme. And then we can swap next week. We can swap around next week.
Yeah, let's do that. So your theme is singer-songwriter. Oh man, and my theme is great band, terrible decision.
My theme is multiple songwriters in a single band. So that was the idea.
Fucking hell! I really fucked up this time, didn't I? Songwriters in one band, right? And then so this one's. I'm not going to keep saying it. This one's dual purpose. double-ended, as it were, for your pleasure?
What's it called? DVDA.
What's that? Dare I ask?
That's from it's from a South Park film, Double Vaginal, Double Anal.
Okay, lovely. Right. So, with your
Wait,
first,
do you ever watch anything from like the 90s and 2000s that were parts of your sort of the cultural sort of landscape and you grew up with, and you just go, that's really pre-Me Too.
I think, but bear in mind, I grew up in the 70s. I saw a brilliant clip of somebody. It was obviously like a sketch, but somebody digging up a time capsule. Here's our like the school playing, but here's the time capsule from the 1970s. And well, long story short, every single thing they got out, they're like, no, we're not going to talk about that. No, we're not going to talk about that. Just absolutely everything in it was tainted horribly.
We were watching as a family, sort of half watching a film the other night, which was a Looney Tunes return with Brendan Fraser from 2003, and there was a point where these two attractive women were wheeling and cleaning a seat for Bugs Bunny. I just go, why is that even a thing that they need two attractive women to do that? The sexism of that film is pretty out there.
I do think the Hollywood obsession with good-looking people is what's kept you and I out of the Marvel franchise.
Who would you want to be?
I don't know. The one who punches people. That's what they all do, isn't it? I don't know. The Mr. Gobby. I'll be tennis gob.
I want to be Spider Pig.
Spider Pig. I do think Spider-Man is probably the best one, because if you want to get across town, especially in a busy town like New York, then flinging yourself with your own wrist jizz is probably the quickest way around.
And also, like, I have quite a lot of issues with my kid really likes Lego Spider-Man, and I've got quite a lot of issues with one. First, they only made one episode of it, Lego Spider-Man, which is a really good episode, but they only made one episode of it. And when he wants more than one episode, it's really annoying. And two, why do they keep making these Spider-Man Lego toys with like cars and motorbikes and stuff like that? Spider-Man, he doesn't need it unless he's going for like a sojourn into the countryside.
Yeah, but I think then he'd still attach himself to a passing drone.
Power.
But also, I've realised that Spider-Man's probably the most. He's probably got the lowest carbon footprint of any of the Marvel superheroes.
Exactly, until they start to give him fucking motorbikes. And anyway, what's our theme again?
Your theme. Your theme is multiple singer-songwriters in one band, and this was your first choice for that. So when I heard that, I was thinking, how is Sam going to shit on that band? But no, it's not. It's multiple songs. So who was that? Who was it?
That's Can't Believe by Firehose, from the album Flying the Flannel. Believe their major label debut, maybe not.
I was going to say they were a major label band with the glorious Mike Watt on bass.
Yeah, but only in the second half, only in the 90s, only in the sort of the spree to sign everything and everybody. And they cashed in, and I think there's a band cashed in, frankly, and I think they cashed in because what they did was they were road dogs. And Mike Watt still is like. You can see him probably at least once a year with some band or another in the UK and rest of Europe.
In a small town near you, not like in London.
Yeah, yeah, and he's incredible in that way, and I love him as well because of his attitude to being in a band. This is his and George's George the drummer's. I can't remember his name,
Was
frankly.
George also in Minutemen?
Yeah, so the drummer
Oh,
drum
right.
and bassist of Minutemen became the band from Ohio with Ed from Ohio, Crawford, and you know Mike Watt does seem to have been on Flying the Flounder does seem to have been the major songwriter, but that song was written by Ed Crawford, and it's a testament to what Mike Watt is doing on the bass. You don't actually know who wrote that, and this there's sort of several attitudes you can take to sort of having different songwriters in the band, and one of them is to credit every song as the person who started that song, not necessarily the
Oh.
person who sort of wrote every element to it, and that and so you can hear that bass line. It's quite a Mike Wattish bass line, but the guitars are fantastic on it. The vocals are brilliant, and the drums are great as well. And it's a testament to a band it's testament to. I read a thing Mike Watt saying he really liked writing music on the bass because it gave so much more room for everybody else to do their own stuff.
He's quite a busy bassist as well, though, isn't he? I mean, how many
Yeah,
notes he fits in.
yeah, he is a busy boy, but just it's really fun. I really love that sort of like way of approaching it, of going, sort of don't have that ego of the sound of the band is not just the songwriter. The sound of the band is the musicians together, and um, they're really. That I think from Ohio and the Minutemen, both of those bands are really good example of that, and also of sort of those bands being well-rounded because of the relationship between the musicians, rather than because you have a genius songwriter and all their decisions are perfect and right, and they have a vision.
It's a really interesting thing. I've always liked, from the punk rock side of things, and being an anarcho hippie, I've always liked the idea of everyone in the band getting equal credit, so everyone's name being on everything. But then that, if you want to track back through a band's career, if they do that, it kind of spoils the storyline, really, because I'm just sort of I've completely changed my mind on this. I now think, I'd like to know who formed the Seed. Perhaps you ought to just put them in the order. Everyone
But
gets credit, but you put
one,
the originator's name first.
so a band like Queen changed the way they did it. They started by addressing this person's song, or the Prophet song is Brian May's song, Bohemian Rhapsody is Freddie's song, some song about cars is Roger Taylor's thing, and then the sort of obscure but sort of very poppy one with always sort of a centralized bass line is
Joey Deacon.
yeah, Joey Deacon's one. Um, and then
I'm going to hell.
later on in their career, they decided that's not what they were going to do. They were going to just spread everything. Everybody gets equal credit for things, and then you have the Lennon McCartney sort of thing, which is which was very much you can tell orally who wrote what song in so many ways. They're also incredibly well documented who wrote what song, but also that they, that it was that they shared that songwriting, and part of that, who gets the songwriting credit is who gets the royalties for that.
The whole writing credit thing, I'd never really thought about at all until I was a teenager, and I got Disraeli Gears by Cream. Absolutely loved it, and then I looked at who actually wrote the songs on Disraeli Gears, and it's fuck it, I had it in front of me now. It's really confusing. So Jack Bruce. So, right, Cream, I'm going to be quick on this because it's not that interesting, really. So, obviously, Cream was Jack Bruce, Eric Clapton, and Ginger Baker. But Sunshine Your Love was written by Jack Bruce, Eric Clapton, and Pete Brown. World of Pain on that album is written by Pappalardi Collins. Who looks at a baby and thinks that's a papaladi? That is. Oh, I'm probably offending someone.
Papaladi.
Papaladi. And then Dance the Night Away's Jack Bruce and Brown. Oh, Pete Brown again. And then Blue Conditions, Ginger Baker, which isn't a complete surprise because it's a fucking terrible song. It's so bad. If you don't know it, then I'm going to save it up for like good album, shit song. Just to confuse things even further.
Okay, well, this brings us onto nicely brings us onto your theme.
Right, so my theme, first one for my theme of great band, terrible decision is not actually a band, it's this.
As sure as night is dark and day is light, I keep you on my mind both day and night. And happiness I've known proves that it's right. Because you're mine, I walk the line. You've got a way to keep me on your side.
Now, I imagine you probably know who that is.
Elvis Presley.
It's actually Elvira, the goth woman.
Great voice. What a great voice for goth music.
So Johnny Cash with Walk That Line. And I don't know why this happened. And you might have to listen to a little bit of it again to really get it. But this is from an album he did in the 80s, which I don't know if it's a cynical cash-in or a contractual obligation. But he re-recorded a load of songs in the 80s, and the album's called Classic Cash, Hall of Fame. And they tried to redo the production to 80s standards to make them fit into the 80s pop chart. And instead of the original, which is, it's really, really simple. It's acoustic guitar, double bass and drums, isn't it? It's just could not be simpler. It's just rockabilly. It's great. On this, they're using what I can only assume is one of those shitty little monotone Casio keyboards. You know, the tiny little ones. We had them at school where you could only play one key at a time. So I'm going to play you just a little bit. And once you know there's an awful Casio keyboard in here, it really stands out.
As sure as night is dark and day is light, I keep you on my mind both day and night.
Could you hear it?
Is that really a keyboard?
I'm not so sure now I'm playing it to you, actually. Not only my choices are on the wrong topic, it's also not that good.
It doesn't shriek. It's not a particularly well recorded sort of sound, or pleasing one. But that's on the original.
Oh God! Right, let's move on. So your next choice for
it shows you how much research we do.
multiple songwriters. Oh yeah, I did mine in 15 minutes between having a dinner and running for a train last night. So your next choice for multiple songwriters in one band is this. See, I was listening to that when I clipped it, thinking, I wonder what he's going to say was the poor decision. But no, multiple songwriters, one band, go for it. Who was that?
That was the Cannibal Corpse with the song "Make Them Suffer" from the album Kill, which I think is probably one of I've sort of come late to it, but I think it's probably one of the greatest Cannibal Corpse albums out there. Definitely top 5, maybe top 2.
There's plenty to choose from, isn't there?
There's plenty to choose from, and they were a band that sort of have two lives. But they pioneered. They're a big part of pioneering sort of defining the modern death metal sound, I would say, and argue, or the sort of the dirty death metal sound, as I like to think of it. Although like dirty death metal. Oh, who like a bit of dirty death metal? But they They do this thing. I think they do this thing because there is a sound to the Cannibal Corpse, and you could accuse them of being sort of having that sort of AC/DC Ramones sort of approach to their music of like they have a sound and they pretty much sound the same. I would say on the album Kill that George Corpse Grinder Fisher, his diction is very precise on that one, very good. You can understand a lot of words. I could understand the word suffer, for instance, how they started that song. But every song is attributed to a particular person. And I imagine that the way that works is actually that's the way the song starts, rather than how it ends up in completion. And a lot of the songs are written by the bassist Alex Webster, but then you go on to like an album later on, and there are let's see, track listing, and then you get the music written by Pat O'Brien and Robert Barrett, and then
they didn't make as much of an effort with their middle names, did they?
No, but then and then I think at a later point there was some problems with one at Pat O'Brien, and the guitarist who had been recording them doing the production stepped into writing as well, and so they sort of went, they're a band that's been going on for, I don't know, at that point is sort of 20 years, and they let their friend bring in their own songs as well, who then joined them. So it's this really cool attitude of sort of like, no, you're in the band, you partake in the songwriting exhibition. Okay. Yeah. Why not? But also like, I'd be. There's the other side of it, which is I'd be fucked if you could tell whose song is whose on.
I was going to say, yeah, but I don't want. I'm listening to you and I'm absorbing it, but also thinking, I'm not sure I can tell the difference. Really,
no. I think
I'm not going to get the subtle nuances.
No, I think you need to sort of take a deep dive into sort of their particular approaches. Are you still there?
Oh, that's all right. Carry on. Skip over it.
I think they
Can you still hear me? Just say yes.
Yes. I think you need to take a deep dive into their sound to actually appreciate the nuances of who's doing what. And I'm sure people have done that. And if you have done that, do something else with your life.
I thought you were going to say, tell us. But yeah, as much as the parents of Pappalardi looked at the cot and their newborn baby and thought, that's a Pappalardi, that is. Corpse Grinder's parents clearly went, that's a corpse grinder, that is. And you wouldn't think that babies could grind a lot of corpses, unless they were like mouse corpses.
But he really, I think we've talked about this before, he's really into his soft toys and his sort of fairground games, and he wins apparently all these toys and he gives them to kids' charities.
Oh, I love finding out stuff like that about bands. I wonder.
George Corpse Grinder Fisher, good guy.
Good guy. I wonder if it's because they toured so much, because we toured with a band once, and they'd been in petrol stations and service stations at late night so many times. You just point at which toy you wanted in one of those grabber machines, and they just get it. They just pay 50p and just get every single time. We had my mate Kate in the band for a little while, and she basically came back from tour with like armfuls of soft toys. Right, so my next choice for... Oh, man, I'm going to have to keep explaining this. My next choice for great band, terrible decision is this, which I think is a terrible decision.
Nuts on a fucking dresser, just your nuts laying on a fucking dresser, and bang them shits with a spike fucking bat. I'll fucking pull your fucking tongue out your fucking mouth and stab the shit with a rusty screwdriver. I'll fucking hang you by your fucking dick off the fucking 12-story building out this motherfucker. I fucking sew your asshole clothes and keep feeding you and feeding you and feeding you and feeding you.
So, do you know who that was?
No, I don't.
No, I don't. I don't care for it.
I don't want to take a guess.
That's Wu-Tang Clan.
No, I thought it was Wu-Tang. Yeah, the voices sounded familiar.
and it's Method Man. So the poor choice, I think here, Wu-Tang, fantastic.
Which one was the poor choice?
I've explained the poor choice. It's the fact that rap albums have those kind of skits in them, that especially sort of around the early 90s, you would get bits like that, but a lot of them would put them at the end of the track. So you go, all right, song's finished, and you've at least got time to lean over and press skip on your CD player or whatever. But Method Man, which arguably I think is probably the strongest song on 36 Chambers, the first Wu-Tang album, it is a fucking fantastic track, real standout track. And yet, each time you want to listen to it on streaming services, or it would have been the same on a CD or even the record, you've got to listen to that bit first, which is like sort of quality recording of them arsing around. And I'm sure there's a deep spiritual reason for him talking about sewing your arsehole shut and feeding you, but it just seems like a poor choice to me. I mean, have it on the album, sure, but not so people have to listen to it before one of the best tracks.
I mean, essentially, I don't know, but why those skits ended up on so much hip hop stuff. But for me, they do really spoil the enjoyment of a lot of hip hop albums, because it is sort of like, I don't know, it just kills the flow of it to me. And you know what? If you've got something, I don't know, it's like, I don't want to listen to skits on. It's one of the things that ruins Devin Townsend shit in the last 20 years for me, is his sort of willingness to do really terrible skits. And
I had no idea. What sort of things does he do then?
Oh, he does ones about coffee enemas and stuff like that. Very, very scatological. And it just sort of ruins it. And I don't know, the 90s, I remember buying, I think, a few 90s hip hop albums and just going, I don't want to listen to you talk shit. I'm not, I don't care.
I always assumed it might have been because a lot of pop at the time was so highly polished. It's like Trevor Horn's Worst Crimes Against Humanity level kind of production, treacliness. And I wonder if it was to sort of keep it street, keep it real, keep it raw, and it just hasn't aged well, or whether it was just a poor decision. Why were they doing it?
I don't know. I mean, I think there must be a cultural aspect. One of the things I sort of think about is maybe there's like the history of comedy albums, which have been very important to things like Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy sort of getting out and doing sort of stuff. And
there wouldn't have been that many years between the Richard Pryor albums and Wu-Tang, would there?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, in a way, that opening skit is, a riff, and it's a variation on the joke, "Your mama's so fat." And it's just one-upping what I would do to torture you. You're...
right, yeah. Honestly, one of the things that bothers me about it is that the sound quality is so bad. It's just, why? Right, we'd better move on to your next choice, and this is your choice for Multiple Songwriters, one band. But I
also
listen.
Yeah.
I was really surprised that you chose this for my theme, which is great band, terrible decision. And I was thinking, why the fuck has Sam chosen this as great band? But I'm going to play it because it's actually Multiple Songwriters, one band. Oh, was that finished?
That's enough of that. That is the Oasis's. With Turn Up the Sun.
Dreary kind of.
I don't know. I'm not too bad. It's like a Kinks song on a rainy afternoon.
It probably was like directly ripped off. Noel Gallagher's unapologetic and quite open about ripping songs off.
It's not Noel Gallagher.
Oh,
neither is it. His
Liam. It's not Liam either.
Lime. It's some chap called Andy Bell who was there.
No, you have hoisted me by my own petard. Go on, carry on.
Do you like his music?
I fucking love Andy Bell's songwriting. Yeah, because he was part of the songwriting team for a band called Ride, who invariably will be in my one of these. And the first two, at least, Ride albums, I still hold in really, really high regard as original, well-crafted, brilliantly songwritten stuff. And I've just shat all over. Mind you, just because he did good stuff in the 90s doesn't mean he'd still be doing good stuff now. Good on him for getting a songwriting credit on an Oasis album, though.
No, well, I mean, this is the thing: is it's Noel's favorite album of the last Oasis albums because it is multiple songwriters. Because Liam does start to add many more tracks, and I think that's quite. I think it's quite an interesting aspect of, it being Oasis being very much defined by Noel's house party.
The Mr. Blobby, the Mr. Blobby concept album Oasis did, yeah.
But then, sort of like admitting to an extent that he's got other creative people in the band and they should have a voice, which is, I think, a position that a lot of other bands don't go in. For instance, System of a Down. System of a Down probably has not released anything since Memorize and Hypnotize because the guitarist Darren can't give up the control. He can't bring himself to give up control of the sound. So this is one of the things that I think actually really is very healthy for a longevity of a band, is actually to have these multiple songwriters, because it gives you more than just one voice, but also gives you, it doesn't mean that you have to use up every single fucking idea that main songwriter puts together. It's the same truth with the Kinks. Some of the greatest songs the Kinks put out were not written by Ray Davies. And even if he was the vast majority, he wrote the vast majority of their great, their stuff, and a lot of their greatest stuff, of course. But I think that's the thing, is that sort of having those multiple songwriters in that band allows for sort of a band to continue to produce what, even if you don't like Oasis, what their people seem to have thought is sort of a quality. And when I think, this is the thing I think of, I don't know, I see there's a trajectory in a way of like the explosion of the 60s in rock and roll, of people doing everything and anything they can do, and it continues a little bit in the 70s, and then there's a trajectory from the late 70s to the early 80s of we do less and less and less and less and less, and we then define our sound like that. And we can't do a slow song because that wouldn't be on brand, and you just go, but that gives the fucking album some space to breathe. So that's and one of the things actually, one of the things I like about the Barbarians of California is they're quite experimental with how they layer sounds on top of things, and they give that sort of themselves sort of room to breathe and enjoy what they're doing, rather than feeling like they have to be in a particular brand. The jumping off point is this sound rather than the end point. Whereas I think these days, a lot of the time, the end point is the sound they're going for rather than the jumping off point.
Blimey. I'm also kind of impressed you even knew a Oasis song.
Oh, but I know I don't know that song. I don't even know that song. That was just like I was struggling, frankly, to fill this tune.
Well,
so good luck next week.
Yeah, I'm literally writing the ideas now for next week. Okay,
and it has to be after 75, because before 75 it's too easy.
Oh shit! After 75, right?
Yeah. Because otherwise you can put the Beatles in there. You can put Pink Floyd in there.
We can never choose the Beatles. We can. I'm going to have to say this as a new rule for Beat Motel. We can never use the Beatles as either of our choices ever again, because they are one of the few bands who get us blocked worldwide.
Yeah,
which
because
everyone's listened to this or watched it on YouTube, and we've talked about the Beatles. That's why when instead of hearing the 30-second clip about the Beatles, you always hear like some country and western music, because we can't publish it if it's got the Beatles on. We just can't. So I always have to replace it with bluesgrass music or something. So yeah, no, we won't choose the Beatles. Right. So back onto my
talking about great bands, terrible decisions, such as that.
Well, I'm just going to say one last little bit. Andy Bell joined Oasis. I think Noel kicked out the rhythm guitarist and the bassist. But when I first heard the news that Andy Bell had joined Oasis, I was so confused, because I thought they meant Andy Bell from Erasure. And I was like, wow, that's a bold new direction for Oasis, getting Andy Bell from Erasure into the band. But no, it didn't happen. I always thought it's kind of crap that I think Andy Bell did play bass in Oasis, which is he's an astonishing guitarist, brilliantly creative guitarist. And even though we're both bassists, I do feel like it's dumbing someone down a bit to like go for being a guitarist to a race. A guitarist, not a guitarist to a racist. That's not what I meant. A guitarist to a bassist.
Who's dumbing down? Most guitarists are racist, so.
Oh, right. Anyway, we need to crack on, because we've been speaking too much shit for too long. So this is going to be a really obvious one for great band. Terrible decision. Wait for it.
Now listen to this, I'll tell you about Texas. I'll tell you about Texas radio. I'll tell you about...
What a load of fucking bollocks.
Chaz and Dave.
Might as well be Chaz and Dave. So, do you know who that is? I'm guessing you probably do.
The sound of it is familiar, but I couldn't put a name to it.
It's The Doors. It's a song called The Wasp, Texas Radio and the Big Beat. And it's off LA Woman, so the last proper Doors album, because they did sort of, stumble on a bit without Jim Morrison. And I don't know if Jim Morrison was kind of quite incapacitated during the recording of this or something, because my thing with the Doors is always they were three geeks, three phenomenal musicians, utter geeks, but were only kept interesting by having a nutter up front. But that drum sound is awful. That boo, 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 boo. And then like someone, I don't know if they're leaning on a ceiling. No,
rototoms. Rototoms.
Oh, is that what it is? Sounds shit.
Because you can adjust the tension of the skin.
Oh, it just sounds awful. And then it goes into... like wanking a drum. Oh my god. Yeah, and then it goes into what can only be described as the theme tune for a wacky circus sitcom.
Yeah,
it's just tell me about it and the loss of pride. Oh, it's so bad. So anyway, bad decision. Great band, bad decision. So on to your final choice for Multiple Songwriters, one band.
I was just noticing across the room, that's a really nice, pretty dress. Well, I saw you smiling. I've never seen you.
See, when I was listening to that under the filter of good band, terrible decision, which it's not, it is multiple songwriters in one band, I was like, what's Sam going to dislike about that? But anyway, let's go back to your theme of multiple... Oh, I'm so sick of saying it. Just speak.
Say it again.
Multiple songwriters, one band.
That is Sour Grapes by the Descendants, and they're an interesting band because I think all their best songs written by their drummer.
Yeah, because he went on to form all, didn't they? Which I only know because I watched a documentary about them in your flat in London about 14, 15 years ago.
Yeah, he did. He him and the guitarist and the bassist did all. They just replaced the singer, and unlike a lot of other bands, they decided to change the band's name, and they've had sort of their own career. But the sound is very, much based on the sort of the same sound. It's the same people, the same sound, basically. And that one was actually not written by Bill Stevenson. It was actually written by Alkerman and Carrion. Let's see who they were. See, this is Milo Alkerman, the singer, and Carrion, the bassist. But and a lot of the album was written by Stevenson, and that's an interesting thing of like, did they write that song to sound like they wanted to write a song that sounded a bit like a Bill Stevenson song, but yeah, a lot of the greatest stuff they wrote was written by the drummer. But they also, this is an interesting aspect that I think the songwriting documentation of the band is, like, this is another 80s band that had multiple songwriters to it, and you can hear different voices in the band.
It always blows my mind that I have to be reminded that the Descendants were an 80s band.
Yeah,
because they so sound like early 2000s to me. Really,
and it's
really
also, but they were sort of the band that created that sound in a way, they're the band that sort of came up with that sort of more pop hardcore, but poppy hardcore sort of thing,
poppy geeky hardcore thing.
yeah.
There can't be many songwriting drummers. That's quite, it strikes me as quite unusual. But that's very interesting, and we're going to move on to my last choice for great band, terrible decision. And I think, Dr. Sam, you're probably going to know why I chose this. Factories have those signs that those factories have. I'll just embrace my true voice. I met someone.
When, ladies and gentlemen, when he's drunk, you can't understand a word, but all it is farming metaphors, which is why he doesn't drink that day.
That's why I don't drink in the morning when we do podcasts. I took Izzy to see Rad Pit at the weekend, like proper gig, proper all ages, like amazing venue in Bury St Edmunds, genuine all ages, everyone going nuts, circle pit, everything. And there's a couple of guys who I know they've just turned 15, and I've seen them play a few times. And I was speaking to one of them, and he went, "Why are you using your podcast voice?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You're using the voice you use on the Beat Motel podcast." Like, this is how I talk. Like this, just kept going. Oh, it's just weird. Oh, it's like it was freaking him out that I was like doing a podcast at him while I was holding a conversation. That really confused me, but it was kind of awesome. But what I was going to say, in factories,
you get what you see with Andrew. It's very.
I hate it when people say that about themselves. When people go, me, right? Got to tell my truth. If I see something, I have to say it. I have to tell it. I think, no, you fundamentally misunderstand human interaction. Just because you've got a truth, you don't have to share it. Fucking shut up.
I didn't mean it like that. I meant it more like you don't. You are mindful of other people. Of course,
uncomplicated.
You're not rude. No, I meant it more like you don't put on a lot of performance. You don't try to please people that much.
This is me. This is genuinely just me. What I was going to say, having played that, which I'm not going to reveal the name of yet, Factories in films, I've never seen it in real life, have a big sign up that says it has been X number of days since we last had an accident or something. You know, like it's been like 24 days since we last had an accident. And I think we ought to have one on the wall behind me here in the studio that says it has been 5 episodes since we chose Against Me. That's one of the tracks, because that was Against Me, and that is the song Axl Rose off Reinventing Axl Rose. And I'm not going to hedge my bets. I'm going to bet you know why I chose that for Great Band, Terrible Decision.
Because of the sound?
Which bit of the sound? Not the sound overall. There's some lovely things, aspects to the sound.
The drum sound.
Yeah, that snare.
Tonk,
tonk,
I hate the guitar
tonk.
sound as well.
Well, I'm going to play a little bit again because I never noticed how thin it is. It literally sounds like, I don't know why I'm going to try and demonstrate this. It sounds just like, well, not that high up. No, not that either. It sounds like it's all muted. It's like, go on, let's hear a bit again, just to revel in the shittiness. It's like there's felt. Like this felt under the strings, or maybe the James was wearing a tie and he hadn't noticed the tie had gone between the strings and the fretboard.
Yeah, that Green Day moment. The sound of that first album is it's a two way. You know, it's like if they recorded it in any other way, and the live recording, there are a lot of live recordings of them with a proper full band and not doing it in that style, and they're good. But that album is such a uniquely weird sounding thing that I don't know. You have to it is one of what I'm trying to say is that I don't know if that album would have been what it is if it wasn't for how shit it sounds. If they sounded like every other band,
I like the shittiness of it. But I'm partly raising it because I can absolve myself here. It's not just me being judgmental. Holy crap, I've come in as a stick for that on the website, which I'll tell you in a minute. Not the website, on YouTube and whatever. Because Laura Jane has mentioned that snare sound several times over the years in interviews, and basically just said, what were we thinking? That was a decision. Yes. We sat down in a room together and we want the snare to go...
But they're in a position now to remaster it in any way they want and remix it probably. God,
what a lovely thought that someone might have the tapes and could actually remix it.
But then I think
it would lose something, though, wouldn't it?
There's an interesting thing. So was it Max Calavera and Igor Calavera, the two brothers who started Sepultura, have re-recorded in the last few years, the first 3 Sepultura albums or first 3 Sepultura releases with modern production. But
that's normally a licensing thing, though, isn't it?
Well, they say it's because they say, and they probably own the licensing. They say it's because because those were all done on independent record labels before they signed to Roadrunner, I think. I think they say it's because, they wanted to see what the music, how the music held up to modern production, and if it was still good if it still sounded good with modern production, and which is quite an interesting thing to sort of see about these things that weren't recorded very well.
I never think of old Sepultura as being recorded badly at all. Mind you, Roots is pretty much the only song I know, so I'm going to shut up.
But that was mid-90s rather than late 80s.
Is that when they started? Okay. I really don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I don't know why I'm on a podcast about music. Unless it's got especially just so you and I can catch up, but and I can look at
this was an excuse for so I could talk to someone else apart from my wife and child. It's a structured chat with a mate.
I think maybe the appeal of it, because we have got plenty of subscribers are doing okay. I do wonder if part of the appeal is how you see a newborn lamb or something try and take its first steps, or a baby monkey learning about the jungle. I wonder if that's how people view me and you're like the benevolent silverback. And literally no reaction from you whatsoever. Then your face didn't even like move. Oh, I quite like benevolent silverback as a band name though. Oh dear. Right, we'd better wrap it up. Just want to say that one of the clips from our last episode has got me
more
so
offended
much
that you're
shit
bringing
online.
I'm also a little bit offended by the fact you're bringing my body hair into this. I'm quite self-conscious about it.
What did we think about your body hair? I just
Why
assume
not?
you comb it in preparation for each recording. Right. So this is we've shit this into a cocktail or whatever the phrase is, haven't we? Right. We've shit this into a cocktail. We've cocked this into a shit hat. Right. I think that's the end. I'm going to say goodbye. Do you want to say goodbye?
No, I want to hear what this person said. This is what trouble we're in.
Oh, it's right. I don't know. I can't show you because I'm using my phone as a camera. But it was the bit where, out of context, I kind of get why people think I'm an absolute twat about it. Because I said like it's like if people come up to me and say, "Oh yeah, I love metal," and I go, "Well, who's your favorite band?" They say Metallica, and I go, "Don't really love metal though, do you?" And you sort of agree with me, and then we went on to say, look, it's about exploring what you can love Metallica, you can think they're your favorite band ever, of course, but if that's the only metal album you like, you're missing out on so much stuff. That's what we were saying. Because of the way it's clipped, I just came across as people just called me an elitist gatekeeper, and it's sad how some people can't just let other people enjoy music. And
can I tell all the people who don't believe in gatekeepers, try to find fucking something worthwhile listening to without gatekeepers. I'm sorry. This is the point that I think all these people go, oh, people are gatekeepers. I'm going, you know what? Fuck you.
I think we'll leave it on that note. I know. I replied at first just saying it's my job to keep punk rock elite.
I'm not defending. I think you can do gatekeeping in a dickish way. You can do gatekeeping in a non-dickish way, and it's not necessarily a thing that is a negative, because sometimes we don't really want Robbie Williams to be on an album with Tony Iommi.
Well, okay, so I will run you through a few. It's sad that all genres have opinionated gatekeepers who love to do nothing more than smugly judge others.
No, it's fun. It's fun. Have you tried it? You're smugly judging us with that comment.
Yeah. One of my favourites, though, which I do reply to some of these. When someone said, literally no one cares, mate. I just replied, I know. I've seen the subscriber figures. Then another one, I quite like this person's name. It's Pablo Tescobar. I think it's a brilliant username. And he just said, this is chronic. I'm cringing myself inside out. And I just replied, think what it's like to be in my brain. I have to listen to this shit all the time. Oh, and it just goes on like, oh, you're so cool. Oh, man, how did you get so edgy? You just think you're better than everyone else.
But also the question...
It goes on and on and on and on and on and on like that.
Sorry, I had another thought about, so the question is, what is a gatekeeper? And at this aspect, everything is potentially a gatekeeper. The record companies are gatekeepers. Bandcamp is a gatekeeper potentially. The streaming services are gatekeepers. They're the worst gatekeepers because most of them are just running through algorithms rather than actual personal preferences and personal tastes. And I don't know anybody who doesn't sort of think that the best spread of music is through word of mouth rather than through algorithm.
Which is gatekeeping. I'm just going to mention one other comment we had. This is much funnier. I'm not sort of upset by these things. I think at first I was a bit like, oh shit, people don't understand me. I thought, who gives a shit? People I don't know don't understand me. If friends and family didn't understand me, I'd be quite upset. But if people think they're welcome to that. They're welcome to that opinion.
I sometimes think if people understood me, I wouldn't have friends and family.
Oh, bless you. But the other end, do you remember I played Booker T and the MGs on the last episode that we did together, and I said I said, and that was the theme from Ski Sunday. And then I said, that's going to really trigger, like a whole generation of people are going to be really triggered. Holy fuck, were they triggered? I put that clip on TikTok immediately. And actually everywhere it went was, because I said it's Ski Sunday. And almost immediately when it went on to YouTube, Instagram and TikTok, lots of people just replying in capitals, cricket, 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 cricket. my favourite comment was somebody said, I just played this clip. It made my dad shout so loud the dog started barking. Which I thought, that is a peak reaction to anything we've done. Just someone being so triggered, like, no.
I enjoy this. It's quite fun, but I also think that people should stop repeating things they hear so easily. Well.
Like the gatekeeper thing. It's like it's basically the same comment with very minor different flavourings to it. But well, fuck 'em.
If you have nothing nice to say it.
No, if you've got nothing nice to say, do this. What sensible people do: start a podcast.
Yes. Talk about your scatological issues.
Indeed. Right, I'm going to go back to scratching my ring, and I'm going to say goodbye. So, do you want to say goodbye? No.